John Wesley, who was the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I met him at the conference, and we had a lunch, and he said about Sweden that when it comes to Sweden, there is only one rule: nothing on paper. And that was that I spoke with. Also, Caspar Weinberger said that during my years in the 1980s, John Wesley was his chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Caspar Weinberger said it was only consultations and understanding. There was nothing on paper. Mm-hmm. And also the James Schlesinger, who I met at a lunch with at another conference, and who was a director of Central Intelligence, CIA, and Secretary of Defense during the Nixon administration, and to some extent Ford. He said that when I asked him about Sweden, was his view on Sweden during his time and so on, and he said, which Sweden? The political Sweden or the military Sweden? The military was planning for us to come as soon as possible. So it was obvious that it was not, all military. It was just a small group of very senior officers, not necessarily on the very top, that were collaborating hand in glove with the Americans. And while the political side wanted to have neutrality,
and this is also what when I did the interview with James Lyons, the second man of the U.S. Navy, and he said the Swedes were holding the code for us. And all of that was not supposed to go to the Swedish public, as we heard.
Yes.
So thank you for. Okay, you want to say something? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say that the interview with Lyons is very interesting in a sense. I was tipped off that he was heading this operation in Swedish waters, and it was from the CIA. It was actually from the CIA, top CIA guy Fritz Ermath, and he. And Fritz and Ace Lyons, who was the very close to Secretary of Navy John Lehman, they were really hand in glove, so to speak, and close friends. And Ace Lyons said that I did it in your interview.
Yes.
And
he was so proud about it. He was,
and he said it was me and my staff.
Yes.
That did these operations. And he was perhaps a little bit disappointed afterwards, but he had obviously told too much.
Yes,
and
I remember that very well. The way he went out, he he thought that the documentary would be a hero story, how he helped or was essential in winning the Cold War, and then he noticed at the end of the interview that. This would probably not be the case, and he walked out like from a interrogation in North Korea, very stiff upwards. And for him, he noticed that he had told too much, and but it was still not enough for anybody in ZDF to go berserk about it. Yeah. It was for them. It was not enough.
I spoke with one Navy guy who had some contact. And he said that he told too much.
Yeah. So these events are not only history, they are in a way present. And for me, the question in the back of my mind, it lingers in the back of my mind, is how is it possible that Sweden decided to get rid of its neutrality, and how could Finland decide to get rid of its neutrality after these events? And these are things that are not completely unknown in political circles and military and intelligence, at least not. So hard to grasp for me why would you become a member of this club of NATO under American command, doing these kind of nasty things and doing this to governments in Scandinavia?
Yeah. No, you could say that in 2014, there were new events of submarine intrusions into Stockholm archipelago and so on. And these were, every journalist and officer that were interviewed claimed that these must be Russian submarines.
Again.
and you had, after these statements by Caspar Weinberger in year 2000, I think it was 60% and so on said that of the population said that, it might be Western submarines also, or at least Western submarines and so on. But just a few years later, 10 years, 15 years later, this is forgotten. And then people said, yes, it definitely must be the Russians.